ओम श्री साई सत्य साई बाबाय नमः। ओम श्री साई सत्य स्वरूपाय नमः। ओम श्री साई सत्य धर्मपरायणाय नमः। ओम श्री साई वरदाय नमः। ओम श्री साई सत्पुरुषाय नमः। ओम श्री साई सत्य गुणात्मने नमः। ओम श्री साई साधुवर्धनाय नमः। ओम श्री साई साधुजन पोषणाय नमः। ओम श्री साई सर्वज्ञाय नमः। ओम श्री साई सर्वजन प्रियाय नमः। ओम श्री साई सर्वशक्ति मूर्तये नमः। ओम श्री साई सर्वेशाय नमः। ओम श्री साई सर्वसंग परित्यागिने नमः। ओम श्री साई सर्वान्तर्यामिने नमः। ओम श्री साई महिमात्मने नमः। ओम श्री साई महेश्वर स्वरूपाय नमः। ओम श्री साई पर्तिग्रामोद्भवाय नमः। ओम श्री साई पर्तिक्षेत्र निवासिने नमः। ओम श्री साई यशक्काय शिरडिवासिने नमः। ओम श्री साई जोड़ी आदिपल्ली सोमप्पाय नमः। ओम श्री साई भारद्वाज ऋषि गोत्राय नमः। ओम श्री साई भक्तवत्सलाय नमः। ओम श्री साई अपान्तरात्मने नमः। ओम श्री साई अवतारमूर्तये नमः। ओम श्री साई सर्वभय निवारिणे नमः। ओम श्री साई आपस्तंभसूत्राय नमः। ओम श्री साई अभयप्रदाय नमः। ओम श्री साई रत्नाकर वंशोद्भवाय नमः। ओम श्री साई शिरडी साई अभेद शक्त्यावताराय नमः। ओम श्री साई शंकराय नमः। ओम श्री साई शिरडी साई मूर्तये नमः। ओम श्री साई द्वारकामायी वासिने नमः। ओम श्री साई चित्रावती तटपुट्टपर्ति विहारिणे नमः। ओम श्री साई शक्तिप्रदाय नमः। ओम श्री साई शरणागतत्राणाय नमः। ओम श्री साई आनंदाय नमः। ओम श्री साई आनंददाय नमः। ओम श्री साई आर्तत्राणपरायणाय नमः। ओम श्री साई अनाथनाथाय नमः। ओम श्री साई असहाय सहायाय नमः। ओम श्री साई लोकबान्धवाय नमः। ओम श्री साई लोकरक्षापरायणाय नमः। ओम श्री साई लोकनाथाय नमः। ओम श्री साई दीनजनपोषणाय नमः। ओम श्री साई मूर्तित्रयस्वरूपाय नमः। ओम श्री साई मुक्तिप्रदाय नमः। ओम श्री साई कलुषविदूराय नमः। ओम श्री साई करुणाकराय नमः। ओम श्री साई सर्वाधाराय नमः। ओम श्री साई सर्वहृद्वासिने नमः। ओम श्री साई पुण्यफलप्रदाय नमः। ओम श्री साई सर्वपापक्षयकराय नमः। ओम श्री साई सर्वरोगनिवारिणे नमः। ओम श्री साई सर्वबाधहराय नमः। ओम श्री साई अनन्तनुतकर्तृणे नमः। ओम श्री साई आदिपुरुषाय नमः। ओम श्री साई आदिशक्तये नमः। ओम श्री साई अपरूपशक्तिने नमः। ओम श्री साई अव्यक्तरूपिणे नमः। ओम श्री साई कामक्रोधध्वंसिने नमः। ओम श्री साई कनकांबरधारिणे नमः। ओम श्री साई अद्भुतचर्याय नमः। ओम श्री साई आपद्बान्धवाय नमः। ओम श्री साई प्रेमात्मने नमः। ओम श्री साई प्रेममूर्तये नमः। ओम श्री साई प्रेमप्रदाय नमः। ओम श्री साई प्रियाय नमः। ओम श्री साई भक्तप्रियाय नमः। ओम श्री साई भक्तमन्दाराय नमः। ॐ श्री साई भक्तजन हृदय विहाराय नमः। ॐ श्री साई भक्तजन हृदयालयाय नमः। ॐ श्री साई भक्तापराधीनाय नमः। ॐ श्री साई भक्तजन प्रदीपाय नमः। ॐ श्री साई भक्तिज्ञानप्रदाय नमः। ॐ श्री साई सुज्ञानमार्गदर्शकाय नमः। ॐ श्री साई ज्ञानस्वरूपाय नमः। ॐ श्री साई गीताबोधकाय नमः। ॐ श्री साई ज्ञानसिद्धिदाय नमः। ॐ श्री साई सुन्दररूपाय नमः। ॐ श्री साई पुण्यपुरुषाय नमः। ॐ श्री साई फलप्रदाय नमः। ॐ श्री साई पुरुषोत्तमाय नमः। ॐ श्री साई पुराणपुरुषाय नमः। ॐ श्री साई अतीताय नमः। ॐ श्री साई कालातीताय नमः। ॐ श्री साई सिद्धिरूपाय नमः। ॐ श्री साई सिद्धसंकल्पाय नमः। ॐ श्री साई आरोग्यप्रदाय नमः। ॐ श्री साई अन्नवस्त्रदाय नमः। ॐ श्री साई संसारदुःखक्षयकराय नमः। ॐ श्री साई सर्वाभीष्टप्रदाय नमः। ॐ श्री साई कल्याणगुणाय नमः। ॐ श्री साई कर्मध्वंसिने नमः। ॐ श्री साई साधुमानसशोभिताय नमः। ॐ श्री साई सर्वमतसम्मताय नमः। ॐ श्री साई साधुमानसपरिशोधकाय नमः। ॐ श्री साई साधकानुग्रहवटवृक्षप्रतिष्ठापकाय नमः। ॐ श्री साई सकलसंशयहराय नमः। ॐ श्री साई सकलतत्त्वबोधकाय नमः। ॐ श्री साई योगीश्वराय नमः। ॐ श्री साई योगीन्द्रवन्दिताय नमः। ॐ श्री साई सर्वमङ्गलकराय नमः। ॐ श्री साई सर्वसिद्धिप्रदाय नमः। ॐ श्री साई आपन्निवारिणे नमः। ॐ श्री साई आर्तिहराय नमः। ॐ श्री साई शान्तमूर्तये नमः। ॐ श्री साई सुलभप्रसन्नाय नमः। ॐ श्री साई भगवान् श्री सत्य साई बाबाय नमः।
Om Shri Sai Ram. Beloved Swami, on this occasion of Premabhandam and New Year, on behalf of all the alumni worldwide and the devotees across the world, we offer our prayerful salutations at thy divine lotus feet. Swami, it is a unique Premabhandam you had planned for us this year. As your children have been engaged in a week-long divine bandham, sincerely connected heart to heart. Looking at the conditions prevailing across the world, we seek your grace to bless all. We thank you, Swami, for giving this opportunity for us to offer our Premabhandam event digitally at your lotus feet. Jai Sai Ram. To all the elders and the younger ones, brothers and sisters of Sai family, Sai Ram to all of you, and wish you all a Sai year filled with gratitude to our Divine Master for all that He has given us and continue to shower on us. Let's pray for the mankind which is going through a difficult time and serve Him by serving everyone. As customary, it is my privilege to introduce our alumnus who shall share his thoughts on this occasion. As a young lad, he stumbled upon an opportunity and came to Swami and the institute without knowing the place and its surroundings, purely guided by his will. After graduation, he had a successful career in Citibank from the year 1993 and went on to Standard Chartered Bank. He was in overseas for a long time and returned back to the country to serve Barclays Bank. He continued his service over there and went on to become the Chief Executive Officer, CEO of Barclays Bank in India. He is a member of European Business Group, Banking and Finance Committee, the CII National Committee on Financial Markets, and the Confederation of Indian Industry National Committee on Banking, where he represents the industry interests. I hereby invite Brother Ram Gopal to share his connect with Bhagwan and the learning from Bhagwan's teachings which he has attempted to put into practice. Jai Sai Ram.
Om Shri Sai Ram. I place my humble pranams at the lotus feet of Bhagwan Sri Sathya Sai Baba. Thank you, Brother Sai Prasanna, for your very kind introduction. First and foremost, I wish all of you a very happy New Year. These past 12 months has placed extraordinary demands on each one of us that, like me, I'm sure you're all looking forward for a happy, healthy and peaceful 2021. When the organizers of Premabhandam first approached me with the suggestion that I share my experiences, my first thought was that, oh, I can't possibly do it. While there is no doubt these 30 years that I've been in Swami's fold has been extraordinary and transformational, I wasn't too sure if I could find the right words to express myself. So it is with a lot of trepidation that I'm here before you, attempting to describe what all of this has meant to me. My mind races back to the summer camp of 1991 at Vrindavan when I first saw Swami. I was one of their new MBA students, but I never expected to be there. To a large degree, I must confess, I didn't really understand just how lucky I was to have that opportunity. While I used to frequent Shirdi Sai Baba's temple near my locality, I hadn't heard about Sathya Sai Baba at all. Neither did any of my family. I had completed my graduation and looking to join an MBA program. I had applied far and wide, including the IIMs, and sat for few of the entrance exams too, but just wasn't making the cut. One of my classmates who knew about Swami, his work and his colleges, had got hold of an application, but owing to a clash of the entrance exam dates, passed it on to me to consider if I wanted to. Without too much thought, other than perhaps being curious about the concept of integrated education, I applied. I came to Parthi for the first time, sat for the entrance exam, group discussion and interview by the Vice Chancellor, Registrar and the Controller of Examinations. And to my pleasant surprise, found myself in the admission rolls. I remember one of the questions that Professor Sampath had asked me about Ramayana and Mahabharata, and how unabashedly I had told them that my knowledge was limited to what I have read in the Amar Chitra Katha. The nonchalance of youth. I have thought about this moment a zillion times and invariably end up thinking that at the least what I could have done was to have removed the thick mush I was quoting when I went through the process. The yearbook has this photograph and I cringe every time I see it. It isn't lost on me the significance of this event. This was the only place I got admission for. Though a couple of months later, during the summer camp, I received a couple of acceptances. But what I remember most was our Vrindavan warden's advice when I consulted him. Be strong, boy. I opted to stay put, and those 2 years were most memorable. The highlight, of course, was the time at Vrindavan during the first year break when we went to various companies for our summer internship, and Swami used to talk to us as a group almost every evening when we came back. Time flew, and soon it was end of the program. Like most of you, I wanted to continue my stay at Parthi and be with Swami. I felt I could either join the hospital, which was recently inaugurated, or be associated with the school or college in some capacity. Around me, I could see many who did that. While I certainly wasn't one of the farm boys, I believed my intentionality and prayers would help me get there. Swami had taken a group of students to Kodaikanal, and I used that opportunity to visit my parents, who by then were very anxious that I have become a monk. As they say, man proposes, God disposes. No sooner did I reach my place, I received a telegram from Citibank asking me to appear for an interview in Chennai. From a no placement backdrop, that too to get a call from Citibank where people would give their right arm to get in, this was truly a bolt from the blue. Bowing to pressures from my parents, and that I had some extended family in Chennai who I hadn't seen for a long time, I decided to go. After all, I still had to get through the interview process, I told myself. Miraculously, I cleared the 2-3 rounds of interview. Reminiscing, I think the draw could have been that I spoke passionately about service, as those in Swami's fold typically do, and the interviewer, in all his graciousness and magnanimity, took it that I meant it in the sense of client empathy and obsession, which resonated with the city's culture. So this simple ploy for my parents' benefit turned out to be a hard choice, one that I finally exercised in their favor. The fact that there were 3 or 4 of my fellow classmates who would also be my colleagues, of course, made it easy. Swami often talks about his expectations from students from his university. Spiritual warriors is a term that has struck a chord with me. And it didn't take long for me to find out the reason why City hired from our campus. They were very impressed by the work ethic, attitude, and approach of our seniors who had found their way into the bank. So to all those out there, shining examples of the best of us, I salute you. The alumni are so strong in their roles that not only have they given the institute a good name, there is a top-of-mind recall in a society that is outcomes obsessed. Efforts like the Catalyst have taken care of so many freshers. Surely you all make Swami very proud. Reluctant though I was initially, owing to my ignorance that Swami's presence was limited by proximity, these 30 years there have been innumerable occasions where I have felt Swami's grace. Limited, of course, by my capacity to see and feel its constant presence. How else would you explain the success at a job interview for a role overseas where the odds were 1 to 1,000, possibly higher? or the offering of Swami's Vibhuti along with the offer letter from my current employer when I planned to return to India, or the complete bounce back of my mother's health after suffering from multiple complications. Swami talks about the art of management as being principally the art of man management. Clients and colleagues work with people they can relate to. Invariably, connection comes ahead of transaction. One thing that has been very clear to me from my career is how one can't get work done merely from a position of power or by holding a title. Moving hearts and minds require empathy. I remember the time when I was with Standard Chartered in Dubai. We had a successful retail business and all of a sudden we had a new entrant. They had hired my supervisor and his boss. So in our division, the top layer was gone. Given how familiar they were with us and our work, it was no surprise they targeted our team. Those days, we didn't have any anti-compete clauses in the employment contract, and therefore we were faced with a lot of resignations, all in a short course of time. I was handed over the reins and tasked with stemming the flow and rebuilding the morale. No small task given how small the market was, and of course the lure of better compensation, right? From leading a small specialist team, this was a big step up for me. I was now responsible for hundreds of colleagues looking for reassurance and direction. With Swami's grace, we managed to pull through that situation. But this emphasized for me two things that we learned from Swami's teachings. One, that delivering extraordinary results from ordinary people is possible. Two, the reasons that people stay in a company are not necessarily the opposite of the reasons why people leave. Right environment is a key driver. Values, connection, purpose, meaning, a sense of community, all of these are what creates engagement. It's our role as leaders to foster these. One other teaching of Swami that resonates with me is equanimity, the sense of balance, the ability to handle both triumph and failure with calmness and composure, more so when the chips are down. I joined my current employer in 2007 with the objective of launching and building out a retail and commercial business. This turned out to be a complete setback and reflecting perhaps my biggest disappointment professionally. We had a great team, our products were reasonably differentiated, our business model was vetted by top consultants, we had a huge amount of capital, a great brand, yet we failed spectacularly at that. Yet again, I was thrown at the deep end, tasked to divest the portfolio and rebuild a company's plan for the market. All of this while internally I was going through a mix of emotions, especially around the decision to lay off a lot of colleagues who were hired with the promise of building a great business. It was years later that I chanced on a TED talk by a serial entrepreneur, Bill Gross of Idea Lab. He talked about timing as the single biggest reason why startups succeed. But how does one get timing right? We all would have our views around this, but for me this episode was an eye-opener in terms of how victory or defeat depends upon what frame of mind people draw from these challenges. It is only with Swami's grace that today our company has risen strongly and I feel I've been able to regain perspective. It is Swami's fond will that we all nurture the head of Shankara, the heart of Buddha and hands of Janaka. If anything, the pandemic has woken us up to the need for a kinder, gentler world. A world that is led by spirituality. A world that is inclusive. A world that Swami has been talking to us for ages. It is my earnest prayer that this new year will give us the motivation, inspiration, courage for all of us to take small yet definitive steps in that direction. Samasta loka sukhino bhavantu. Samasta loka sukhino Om Shri Sai Ram. Thank you.
Bhagwan's students shine in all walks of life, serving the mankind. As we heard our alumnus from the world of banking, we have yet another alumnus from the world of bureaucracy. It's my pleasure to introduce Brother Krishna Kishore, who is currently Principal Commissioner of Income Tax, New Delhi. His grandparents came to Swami in the year 1946. After graduating from Vrindavan during the year 1983, he completed his chartered accounting in the year 1987. He has held various positions in Indian government service. He has been Private Secretary to the Union Minister of Civil Aviation and also to Union Minister of State for Agriculture. He was awarded the Finance Minister's Gold Medal by Shri Manmohan Singh, the then Union Minister of Finance. He has also authored a book on Indian income tax. He has also been Chief Executive Officer of Andhra Pradesh Economic Development Board. Let me welcome Shri Krishna Kishore Jasti to address all of us. Sai Ram.
My humble pranams at the divine lotus feet of Bhagwan Sri Sathya Sai Baba Varu. My dear brothers and sisters, alumni of Sri Sathya Sai educational institutions, and my dear fellow devotees of Swami. I am indeed honored to have been given opportunity to share a few thoughts with all of you today. I belong to a family of devotees. My paternal grandfather, Sri Jasti Sambasivarao, was a lawyer who later became a district judge. My grandmother, Srimati Jasti Sita Mahalakshmi, was a leading lawyer, a social worker, and also a member of Legislative Council in Tamil Nadu as well as Andhra Pradesh states. After several years of marriage, my grandparents did not have any issue. They did not have any child. They went to several temples, and finally, when they prayed at Varanasi, they were blessed with the birth of my father, whom they rightly named as Ishwara Prasad, named after the presiding deity at Varanasi. After a few years of birth, my father was afflicted with something called infantile paralysis. He was wheelchair ridden and was unable to walk. And my grandmother and grandfather were very despondent. They prayed everywhere. They went to several temples across India and prayed for restoration of the ability to walk for my father, but did not succeed. One fine day, when my father was around 8 years, by then nearly 1.5 years, he was afflicted with this paralysis. Both my grandmother as well as my father were in the law chambers of my grandmother in their residence, and a lady in a white dress was looking very radiant and effulgent, walked into the chambers all of a sudden, looked at my grandmother and said, Sita Lakshmi, I know the whole world thinks you are a very happy and successful person, but internally you are extremely unhappy because of the condition affecting your son. Do not worry, pray to Sai Baba, and by his grace your son will get all right. Then that lady literally vanished. By the time my grandmother could get round to offer a cup of tea, she just walked out and was nowhere to be seen. Before sleeping, my father insisted that my grandmother, my grandfather, and she should pray to Sai Baba, as suggested by the lady in the white dress. And both of them kneeled on the ground and prayed to Sai Baba. By then, they had vaguely heard of Shirdi Sai Baba. And in the middle of the night, all of a sudden, my grandfather woke up. Then he said, "Mummy, Mummy, please wake up. I feel a sudden sense of energy passing through my legs. I feel that I can walk. Can you help me switch on the light?" My grandmother held the hand of my father. Slowly, my father started walking and he switched on the light. And in the middle of the night, they took a stroll in the Gandhinagar residence area of where they were residing in Chennai. And next day, several family, friends, well wishers came to see, witness this wonderful miracle which happened in my father's case. This was the first calling card. A couple of years down the line, in the year about 1946, my grandmother had a dream. She saw herself walking on a beautiful mountain which was completely suffused with a golden aura. She walked right on top of the mountain where she saw a beautiful young lad in a meditative posture with a beautiful halo of hair and tremendous aura all round his hair, which was engulfing the entire mountain. That was the vision she had. Next day morning, there was a case in the High Court pertaining to the Transport Department. There were some papers which need to be filed in the court. And since the Transport Commissioner Hanmantarau's house was on the way to the High Court, my grandmother called the Transport Commissioner and told him to keep the papers ready, which she would carry to the court. My father insisted on going with her for a ride to the High Court. He was still a young lad. And they went to Mr. Hanmantarau's house. They found a small crowd of about 50, 60 people in the house. My grandmother asked the people there why they have assembled there. Then they said that there is a saintly figure called Sai Baba who has come to Mr. Hanmantarau's house. Then my grandmother and my father went near the staircase of the house. Suddenly they saw me walking down. A young lad, the same person whom my grandmother saw in the dream the previous night, was walking down the staircase. He gave a beautiful smile to her. And the first words he uttered were, "You saw me in the dream last night, and here you are before me." And he smiled at them. And out of thin air, he created something and threw it at them. My grandmother got some flowers, my grandfather got some sweets. Then they took namaskar and they went away. A few years passed. Then the state of Hyderabad was formed in the year 1953, and my grandparents moved to Hyderabad to practice in. My grandmother wanted to practice in the High Court of Hyderabad. Then they were staying in the residence of Mr. Burgula Ramakrishna Rao at Barkatpura in Hyderabad. Mr. Ramakrishna Rao invited Swami to their house, and they again after a long time of about 7 to 8 years, my grandparents and my father had the darshan of Swami. Swami straight came to them. He looked at my grandmother and he said, "It took you so many years to come back to me again. On that day, I gave you flowers, I gave your son sweets." And he blessed them both. Then, after that, my my grandparents and later on my father also got married. So my parents, all of them became devotees of Swami. And in 1964, again in the same house of Mr. Ramakrishna Rao, Swami named me when I was 21 days old. Then in the very same year, we built a house closer to that house in Barkatpura, Hyderabad. where Swami visited a few times and had been blessing our family by his gracious divine presence. Over the years, our family experienced several miracles and several other instances of his love, grace, and blessings. After Swami has set up his colleges in Anantapur and Whitefield, my sister Sita Rajalakshmi, she joined the Anantapur College. My brothers Ravichandra, Venkateshwar Prasad, and Nagendra Krishna have joined the Brindavan campus, that is in the Whitefield College. My sister Sashikala continued to study in Hyderabad, and I had a desire to join Swami's institutions. However, I was a very poor student. I got only 49% in my 10th standard. Then I went to the principal in Swami's college in Brindavan, Mr. Narendra, who promptly refused me admission because of my low marks. Then I went to Puttaparthi. I sat in the lines. Swami came straight to me. He asked, "Why are you here?" Then I said, "Swami, I did not get admission." He said, "Do not worry, you'll get admission. Go and meet the principal again." Fine, I went back. The principal somehow was expecting me. He gave a broad smile. He said, "You're welcome to join our college." Then I told him, "Sir, I want to do the PCMB course, that physics, chemistry, maths, and biology course. My ambition was to become a doctor." But however, the principal refused. He said, "I'll not even given maths to you because your marks are very low. You can only get history, economics, commerce, and accountancy, HECA, in the pre-university course." So I accepted that, because this is one thing. By then, as devotees, we were taught from childhood that whatever Swami does is for our good. God is like a mother, father, guru, guide. God doesn't give what we want. God gives you what we actually need. So this is the lesson my parents have taught me from childhood. And this is a lesson which Swami has told time and again in his discourse. And so I accepted with all humility. The beautiful atmosphere of the college changed everything. First and foremost, the discipline. We used to get up at 4:30 in the morning, 5 o'clock go to Suprabhatam, around 6:37 have your tea. If Swami was in Vrindavan, from 7:30 to 8:30 we used to go for darshan. 8:30 we used to have breakfast. Then 9 o'clock go to college. From 9 to 9:30 have prayer session in the auditorium. From 9:30 onwards till 1:30 have the classes, attend the classes, and 1:30 to 2:30 have your lunch. 2:30 to again 4:35 go back to college. 5 o'clock we used to come back. Again from 5:30 to 6:30, Swami was in Vrindavan, we used to have darshan. Then 6:30 to 7 we used to have bhajans. From 7 to 7:30 or so we used to have dinner. Then again from 8 to 10 o'clock we used to study and sleep. This was our routine. Complete discipline routine which everyone used to punctually follow. This created in me a sense of time management, that I should value every second of my time and utilize it properly without wasting it. This is the first lesson I learned in Vrindavan. Second lesson, what I learned is tremendous self confidence, because Swami always used to say that God is in everybody. In fact, everybody is God, including you yourself. So have that strong belief that there is a divinity within you. So be always confident. Swami always said, have strong faith, faith in yourself, faith in God. This gave me a strong sense of self confidence. Third, Swami was very keen that we should pursue our dreams with complete passion. With thought, word, and deed, we should put all our efforts to get what we seek to get. And so, determination is another wonderful value which the institution taught me. Swami always said, never, never, never give up. Having got a particular ambition, try your best to attain. what you are seeking to attain. However, make sure that the ambition what you have is a good one, which is dharmic and which is based on right principles. Swami also number of times taught us to have a sense of service, sense of sacrifice, living in a sense of togetherness, in a camaraderie, brotherhood. This developed tremendous leadership qualities in me. In other words, I developed discipline, I developed determination, I developed the value for hard work, I developed a value of togetherness, living in community, amity, and with a sense of togetherness, and also developed a lot of passion and determination to achieve goals. In fact, Swami always used to say, aim high, low aim is a crime. Swami was very, very clear on this. Never, never aim low, always aim high. Swami always taught us another very valuable um, lesson. He always told us life is a challenge, meet it. Life is a song, sing it. Life is a dream, realize it. Life is love, enjoy it. Life is a game, play it. And he always told us to watch your words, watch your actions, watch your thoughts, watch your character, watch your heart. All these have helped develop wonderful character, not only among in all the students, but also among the people who came in contact with those students. In fact, this had a great transformatory effect in Swami students, the devotees of Swami, and the people who came in contact with such people. I had observed all this, and I started developing a sense of courage, sense of confidence, and I started studying very hard. For the first time in my first PUC, I got first class. Again, second PUC, again I got first class. Again, first year BCom, I got first class. Somehow in second year BCom, I got second class. But I took it as a challenge because Swami says life is a challenge, meet it. Never, never, never give up. So again, I cancelled my exam, rewrote exams in September. I ended up getting 73% in my second year BCom in 1982. Third year BCom, again I got distinction. So from a 49% student in 1978 in SSLC, I ended up as a distinction student after BCom. Afterwards, I came and joined Chartered Accountancy in Hyderabad. And CA was a very tough exam in those days. We had two groups in intermediate, two groups in final. In the first three attempts, we used to have every 6 months one exam. In the first three, that is first 18 months, I failed. There was one subject which I always used to fail, subject was costing. In my fourth attempt, I again had costing the next day. I gave up. I slept around 10 o'clock. Sometime in the middle of the night, I woke up. Then I had a small pocket calendar with Swami's photo and blessings. And below that, I just saw that photo when I got up in the middle of the night and read what was written below that. It was written, I am with you wherever you are, guarding you, guiding you. March on, have no fear, Baba. This was an electrifying moment for me. I took it as Swami's command. Whole night I sat up and studied hard. And I went at 9 o'clock to the exam. And believe me, what I studied between that 12 to morning 8 o'clock, the same questions came in the exam and I passed. And after that, there was no looking back. I completed in kind of consecutive exams all the groups in CA in 4 years, which is a very good achievement in those days. I completed my CA. Then I was wondering what to do next. I was wanting to do civil services. But then I was looking for an answer from Swami. Then there was a next day morning. I had prayed today night to Swami. That was the particular night. Next day morning, I just had a Sanatan Sardi on my father's table. I just took it and opened it. Then there I found a paragraph. My eye went to exact paragraph where Swami told in his speech, I want my students to get into civil services. He said IAS. If you reverse it, it becomes SAI. I want my students to serve India. And in that he has written, you may be doing CA, but I would want you to get into civil services. So this was a direct answer for me. There's no margin of confusion or error. I took it as Swami's command and I wrote the civil services among 4 lakh and odd students. I succeeded in passing and getting into the Indian Revenue Service. This again is nothing but the values taught of hard work, determination, self confidence, faith in God, faith in ourselves taught by Swami's institutions. Later on, in the past nearly 30 years of my career, I always had a wonderful innings wherever I worked. I'm proud and happy to say that by Swami's blessings, in about 25 or 26 of my annual confidential records, I have been rated as an asset to the government both by my reporting officer and the reviewing officer. They gave me thumping reviews and given me very, very strong words of appreciation. From the general public, wherever I worked, from my department, everywhere, I always enjoyed a sterling reputation. This is nothing but the training given by Swami and his wonderful institutions. In fact, I had the privilege of working at senior positions in the income tax department and also as secretary to the ministers of agriculture, ministers of rural development, urban development, and civil aviation in the government of India at the highest levels. I was also chief executive officer of Andhra Pradesh Economic Development Board. Throughout, had number of challenges, number of tough assignments. Everywhere, I emerged very successful because of Swami's grace and because of the wonderful qualities of the head and heart taught by him and the wonderful institutions of his. In fact, I also had my share of very challenging and trying times because especially when you do not compromise with integrity, when you do not compromise with honesty, you will find yourself with certain problems which you will face, which particularly in the government service. I had my share of problems, but I never wavered from the path of integrity shown by Bhagwan. I always walked in the path, I emerged successful. Swami says, like every diamond has to be cut and polished, then you have the wonderful, valuable diamond at the end of the day. Similarly, gold has to be melted, lot of processes have to be gone into before it emerges as a shining, valuable metal. Similarly, in the game of life, all of us have to face lot of challenges, lot of problems, lot of difficulties. God gives them all this to bring out the best in you. I had those share of my problems, but I never compromised on the values of integrity, good character, good conduct taught by Swami. And I would say with all humility that I emerged with a good name, with a good reputation. This is nothing but the blessings given by his institutions and the training given by Baba. And Swami expects all of us to live ideal lives and be role model to rest of the world. You need not be in government service to do good work. You can do good work in every field, in the private sector, public sector, professional. Wherever you do, whatever you do, you can be a role model. You can do wonderful work in any chosen area of life. But do your level best and follow the good principles and good values as taught by Swami. That is important. And even in personal level, Swami always expects us to not only have right conduct, but also have right habits. For example, Swami does not like any of his students to smoke. Swami does not like his students to drink, to consume alcohol or intoxicants. Swami does not like his students even to take non-vegetarian food. So, I mean, these are all personal habits. But if we follow Swami's commands, not only we will be happy, but our children, our future generations, or generations also will be very happy and successful. I've taken a lot of your time, but all that I can say is Swami has kept up his promise. I am with you wherever you are, guarding you, guiding you. March on, have no fear, Baba. I'm eternally grateful to Swami. May Swami bless all of us, our families, and entire world. Sarve Jana Sukhino Bhavantu. Jai Sai Ram.
ॐ जय जगदीश हरे स्वामी सत्य साई हरे भक्तजना संरक्षक भक्तजना संरक्षक पति महेश्वरा ॐ जय जगदीश हरे शशिवदना श्रीकरा सर्वा प्राणपते स्वामी सर्वा प्राणपते आश्रित कल्पलतिका आश्रित कल्पलतिका आपदान्धवा ॐ जय जगदीश हरे मातपिता गुरुदैवमु मरि अन्तयु नीवे स्वामी मरि अन्तयु नीवे नाद ब्रह्म जगन्नाथ नाद ब्रह्म जगन्नाथ नागेन्द्राशयना ॐ जय जगदीश हरे ओंकार रूप ओजस्वी हो साई महादेवा सत्य साई महादेवा मंगल आरती अंधुको मंगल आरती अंधुको मंदर गिरिधारी ओम जय जगदीश हरे नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण 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 ओम नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम जय सद्गुरुदेवा नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण 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 ओम नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम जय सद्गुरुदेवा नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण 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 ओम नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम जय सद्गुरुदेवा शांति 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 समस्त लोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्त लोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्त लोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु शांति 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 जय बोलो भगवान श्री सत्य साई बाबा